having me, by the way. Yeah.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Coder Stories. This is me, Sneha, and in today's episode, we have Dave Chandra joining us from Washington, D.C. Dave is a naval officer, entrepreneur, and MBA candidate at Tepper. Thank you for joining us, Dave. It's wonderful having you today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, what's your story? Tell us more about you and what you do, your career journey so far, and all of that good stuff.
So currently, like you said, I'm in the Navy. I do congressional affairs, and I help to basically do a lot of communications work between my admiral and different offices in the Capitol. And then part-time, I am, run a side business called the Process Hacker, and it's a productivity website, all things productivity. It's my take on productivity. And then I have a um, last but not least, like I'm doing the MBA, so I'm also a grad student. So trying to balance all that, it's been a good, it's just fun. You got to make life fun. And I like doing a lot of things, and I try my best to make sure that I don't neglect any one area of my life. And yeah.
That's nice. That's super cool. So, how do you balance all of them? How do you balance all the roles that you're playing right now?
So it is about priorities and about product. Like for me, it's just managing energy, managing basically the various resources. So like my time, and I try to prioritize like wellness, like exercise, sleep, and like good eating, just so that the rest of the areas don't suffer. Because if I don't sleep enough, then my interactions are going to suffer. So that's the first step. And then after that, it's like, okay, schedule things on the calendar, put things in a to-do list that are task-based, and then just try to plan a little bit, but then just have those pieces in place. So you just execute to the plan. And it's not going to work all the time. It's not perfect, but I think I do a pretty decent job at it. So
Nice. That sounds like a well structured plan. You have your life in order. That's awesome. And
I try.
that's good. So tell us a little bit about why did you decide to pursue an MBA and how was this entire process of applying for an MBA during the pandemic?
So for me, it just was fell into place. So I was planning to leave the Navy. I was going to travel a little bit, and then I was just going to try to start this business and build it.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, that was back in like last year, 2020, January through like February, Marchish, right? And the pandemic happened, and it's like, oh no, like business is taking a hit. Um, even if I tried to get a new job, it'd be tough. The world's closed off, so I can't even travel anywhere. So a lot of those factors were like, okay, I got to rethink what I'm doing. And so it was a pretty tough time because like I was kind of crushed. I was like, I wanted to go, like go to Southeast Asia, go to South America, work on the business. There's a lot of entrepreneurs all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? So first, my job, the Navy, like working for the government, they were like, hey, you can get an extra year, 6 to 12 months of extra, if it works for you. So I basically got my contract in the Navy extended for a year, and then a lot of MBA programs. So I had my eye on Tepper. One of the things I didn't do was take a GMAT, and that was like one of the big hurdles. And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of MBA programs, including Tepper, said, hey, you don't need a GMAT right now. You don't need to pay application fees. And we're also extending our deadline. So it's just timing. And I was like, okay, like, let me take this opportunity. It's never going to come again, like where they're going to have to bring the GMAT back. So I just went for it. I applied. One of my mentors, who's a consultant, was like, hey, this is a great opportunity. You're really business minded. So I applied. I got some help on the application. I got a lot of help, and it wasn't that bad. And it was perfect because I assumed we're going to be, the world's going to be on pause for a year. We can't travel. So it is a good time to learn new skills and to really, instead of, for me, I was like, okay, if I'm not doing anything, I could put all of it into my website and business, but I could also put effort, in this area where I think this will be a huge step forward for what I'm trying to do. So it's perfect. I applied, I got in, and it worked out because it was like the barrier to entry was really low because of like the pandemic and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did that test waiver thing go along? Did you have to take any calculus courses or anything, or did they do that based on the previous statistics and calculus courses that you had taken?
So a lot of it came to background. Like I have a master, or I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I have a
Mhm.
master's in engineering also. And there's basically like I had the math requirement. So
Mhm.
I had before my current job, I was an engineer in the Navy, and it was
Mhm.
very mathematically intensive, very analytical job. And so that was one of those things. If you had the background, they would, let you, they would understand. They're like, okay, you have a background, you're fine. So that's how they judged that.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That sounds great. That sounds like the best time to actually get into an MBA
Yeah,
program. And I think even now they have that test waiver. I recently got an email from
yeah.
Tepper that they have deadlines and stuff. So anyone watching this, you still have time to enter that program without taking GMAT. So what do you like the most about the Tepper experience so far?
So a couple of things. And the other thing I'll add about that last part is I was looking to
Mhm.
move back to Pittsburgh. So just because like I lived there and my sister lived there, and I'm looking to get out of the Navy and settle down somewhere. So Pittsburgh was
Mhm.
my place. And Tepper is in Pittsburgh, obviously, but also has great people, students and professors who really care about learning, and um, it's a good community of people. Like, and with the part-time program, a lot of these people, everyone has a job, so you get to
Mhm.
learn about everyone's shared experiences of them implementing what they learned in the workplace, and just hearing stories of like it's constant, right? We're trying to balance work and school, and some people have families, and so that whole you get everybody's like, oh yeah, like today I had this meeting and whatnot, so you get kind of like these case studies all the time, which is awesome. Just by just interacting with your classmates and stuff. These Tepper has a huge entrepreneurship hub, like called
Mhm.
Schwartz Center for Entrepreneurship. So I'm trying to get involved more, and that's why I'm also trying to move there and really become a part of that. And then with this MBA experience, I was looking at let me like when I did my undergrad, I focused more on grades and my resume padding, but this time around, I'm like, okay, how can I learn the most? How can I help people? How can I, get to know as many people as possible and try to make an impact on people as well as learn as much as I can from other people? And so that's how I approached, my MBA. I was like looking at it as hey, this is a good opportunity, well, while the pandemic's going on, essentially.
Absolutely. And Tepper, I'm very interested in Tepper, and I was really impressed how they have so many programs for even people who are interested in joining Tepper. Like you
Yeah.
can go and attend classes, and they take you around the university. And right now they do a virtual tour and all that. They're really engaging and keep sending a lot of resources and conferences they have. They send invites to the conferences and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your blog. How did that start? And your entry into the field like of entrepreneurship? How did your interest come and all that good stuff?
So for me, like essentially a couple years ago, I was an entrepreneur. I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think there was a creative fire inside of me, and with the military, with the government, a lot of the work is monotonous. It is a very stable job for a reason, and it gets really boring if you're really looking for change and looking for like certain things. There's a lot of problem solving, but for me, it was just like it was just beating the drum, and I didn't like the bureaucracy. So a couple years ago in my engineering job, like I learned process improvement, I learned schedules, I learned about project management through my construction work that I was working on. We were building parts of the aircraft carrier and stuff, and it was super cool. But that's how I got into the productivity stuff. So I was like, I already got into it. I read a lot of books on it. I tried to apply it to my own job and my own life. And a couple years, I was like implementing different things I learned. And I met my business coach about a year and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
and um, the biggest thing like he tried to get me to do, and a lot of people do this, it's start creating content, right? Like you're creating this podcast. For me, it was my comfort is in writing, and so I was like, okay, let me just start writing a blog, and you learn by doing, right? And so that's where the website started. It was just like, hey, let me put out a blog post about once a week on something productivity. So I've done a lot of book summaries, I've done a lot of traditional productivity topics, and then from there, now I'm starting to coach people on productivity or coach entrepreneurs on how can they implement productivity in their business or their life. And so that's where that next expansion came out. So it was
Mm-hmm.
it just was one of those things like I had to just do the work and start creating something and seeing where it goes. And I'm still learning a lot. It's still a cool journey. And I can't wait to see where my blog is in a year, 2 years, or even 5 years from now. So yeah, I would tell people just start either teaching something or creating
Mm-hmm.
something and putting it out there and see what people say about it. And
And then take it from there.
yeah,
That sounds great. And how is it working with the business coach?
it's good. I mean, it really, I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is getting started and,
Mm-hmm.
taking an idea and putting it into action. And some people are like, hey, like they just did it and they started making money. I mean, but I think it's a big step to go from working a normal job and then being like, oh, like let me take what I'm doing and then help other people and then run my own business. It might take another person, and that's what it was for me. It took another person to say, hey, you can turn this into a business, you can coach people, you can blog about it, you can create courses or write a book or whatever you want to do. You just have to start doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was. Even like one of my old mentors at work was like, hey, just start with a blog post. And I didn't listen to him until I actually met my coach, who was like, start, just write one post and then another one and then keep building from there. And then pretty soon I had my own website. I needed like a name, and then I started, I found the process hacker was available, and I was like, great, this is it, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the learn what I've learned is you got to do something and see what happens, and you got to keep trying, and you
Mm-hmm.
learn through the doing. Because if you just think about it, it's nothing's going to really happen. And you could have like a great idea, but if you don't see how people react to it or how you refine it over time, like nothing's going to happen.
Absolutely. That makes sense. So, what are your favorite books and resources or any influencers that you follow? Because you read a lot of stuff and you write about a lot of stuff. So, I want to know
Yeah.
who inspires you.
So for me, I started my whole like, just improvement growth journey through a podcast. It was called The Art of Charm back in the day. And it was run by a guy named Jordan Harbinger. And basically taught like back in college, like I didn't know how to like really, I wasn't good at making friends. Like in high school, like it was easy. I grew up with these people, but in college, like I struggled making friends and I didn't know how to treat people. And I was just struggling. I was trying to figure it out. And then I stumbled across this podcast, and I started, he'd bring on authors or he'd bring on other people. And I was like, it got me to think like basically slowly improve myself over time. And then from there, I just like different authors would come on his show. And that's how I read so there's a book called Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. And
Mm-hmm.
it's by Mark Manson. And that's like for a long time, I had this mindset of being a people pleaser and really caring about what other people think. And I still do. I think everybody does. But
Mm-hmm.
that book really, like his writing, like it's a really good book. It basically was like, hey, you don't need to care about what other people think. You really need to take care of yourself first, and really be comfortable with yourself, and just go for it, right? And so that was one of those great books. Another good book, he had Tim Ferriss on his podcast, 4 Hour Work Week, and he had Tim Ferriss on his show before 4 Hour Work Week was a big book. And
Mm-hmm.
4 Hour Work Week is now the like basically the alternative lifestyle book. Like, hey, you don't have to live this 9 to 5 life. If you create your own business, you can travel, maybe you can work remotely. So like, how can you change your life to benefit yourself? Maybe it is your same job, but you're now living in Argentina and remotely working and then experiencing this other culture. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
is taking your skills and turning into a business. So that book showed me that you don't have to live this linear life that does exist, even though it is safe. Like some people, it's super beneficial. They need that structure. But for other people, it's like, you can take a year off your life and it's not going to affect it. If you saved up the money, like for me, like I might take a year off my life, like, and just go travel. And I'm still going to work on the MBA because it's a remote MBA, which is great, but I can do that now. And then the last book that was really influential was Atomic Habits,
Mm-hmm.
and it's by James Clear. And that was one of the books that showed me that, hey, if basically James Clear was a blogger, he's still a blogger, and he writes on his blog twice a week, I'm pretty sure. And he basically said, hey, I developed this habit of writing, and I would write about habits regularly, twice a week. and put my content out there. And now for years he would do this, and now he's a speaker, he's a writer, and he has like one of the best books on habits, because over time, and this is where I take my blogging inspiration from. It's, hey, if I put in the work every week, I'm going to learn something new that week, and then I'm going to write it in my own words. So I'm going to refine what that person's saying, and then
Mm-hmm.
I can help people with it because they can check out my blog or whatnot. And so over time, like Google sees my blogs, and then more people go visit, and so that's the habit, right? And so those habits are in working out, sleeping, how you treat people. And so like the huge book, totally recommend it. And then the last thing, I would recommend, like one of my favorite documentaries is called Minimalism, Living a
Mm-hmm.
Meaningful Life. It's by the Minimalists. It's the original one. And it showed me that, hey, you don't need fancy stuff. You don't need to live like, you don't need a nice car. You don't need to, like like one of the biggest things, like I would spend money on a lot of stuff that I didn't need and thought it would make me happy. And now I'm like realizing that things like experiences and people are way more important than stuff. And so that's a great documentary. Like, I would totally check that out and stuff. So I'd say those are like the five big ones that I can think of.
Yeah, I've watched the documentary and I follow James Clear. He has a 321 newsletter.
Oh, I love that newsletter. It's
Yeah,
so good.
every
Yeah.
Thursday, and then I got a bonus one because I referred 5 people to join
Oh
that.
man,
So,
I don't have that yet.
so I
I
get
need
those
to get
on
on that.
Saturdays.
Oh, I need to get
So
on that.
yeah, and I have the audiobook and the book, and I
Yeah.
follow him on Twitter. It's almost like I'm stalking him. So
Oh, it's funny. I actually
it's
went to a talk of his, and he was just really good. And he signed my book. I got a signed book, so I was
oh,
like,
that's nice.
yeah, he's a really good guy. And it just goes to show, you put the work in and you really try, people will notice after a while. And if you build the right habits, you can. It's like that phrase, like people overestimate what they can do in a month or like a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Um, so that was one of those things where I'm like, if I do something long enough and I really work at the craft and really get better at writing, really keep blogging, in 5 years,
Mhm.
this blog, and even with the growth right now, I can see the growth ticking up on the website traffic. It's like 5 years, I don't know where this blog's gonna be, but if I keep putting effort into this, it will keep getting better, and people will keep coming to the website. And so that's the cool thing. So it's like that definitely is huge in my own blogging experience.
That's nice. I totally agree with that, and that's something that I'm hoping to do myself. Every Saturday, I'm putting out videos and hoping to make that a habit. I don't know for how long that's gonna go, but let's see. So, what's next for you, Dave?
Yeah.
What's something upcoming that you're excited for?
So I'm gonna try to make this lifestyle reality. So I'm leaving the Navy in a couple months. I'm gonna join the reserves, which is like a part-time Navy job. So I'll still be in the military, but it's at a part-time capacity. I'm moving to
Mhm.
Pittsburgh, so I'm actually looking for homes right now. And my future right now is like, I'm moving to Pittsburgh. I want to really get more involved in Tepper with the Schwartz Center. There's another group called Bunker Labs, which is a veterans entrepreneurship group. So I'm trying to really get involved in that, and with the local Pittsburgh chapter. Because honestly, for me, like I've saved up a good amount of money, and now I'm just looking at, okay, how can I live at a very, low level, like again, not buying a lot of stuff, not really spending a lot, help people, and kind of just see if I can build this business over the next couple of years, and then travel a lot. So that's really what I see myself doing. Really build the business, help entrepreneurs and give back, and then travel and really try to, well, hopefully when the pandemic's over, like go do stuff before I get too old, and then meet as many like-minded people, and yeah, that's.
That sounds great. Wishing you the best, and
No,
I'm
thanks.
sure I'm sure it's going to be great. Thank you so much for being a part of this
Yeah.
show, Dave. It was wonderful
Yeah,
having
no,
you.
I appreciate it. I think the one thing I will add, is, I think for my journey, the most important thing is other people. And like I would tell people, like, hey, like I think for the last 2 years I've been really, methodical about really building a network, like mentors and coaches and people to help me, because those people, like over the last couple of years, have really pushed me forward. And like I have a business coach, like I have like someone like who helps me with my working out, like who gives me workouts and stuff and helps me
Mm-hmm.
stay like eating well, like because people hold you accountable. And so that's the one thing that's really pushed my own journey forward the last couple of years. Like even my Tepper MBA, like one of my mentors recommended I apply for the MBA and then looked over my application. And then I actually got someone to like who does it professionally to like read over my app and be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
like here's where you can improve your essay and stuff. So um, people are the best resource. And when you look for people and actually like show them that you're interested in what they have to say and take action on the advice they give you, then like who knows where you'll end up. Like that's the one thing I would definitely say like is huge. So
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. This was awesome, and we reached the end of the show. For those of you
thank
watching
you.
this, if you like this episode, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and you'll receive notifications when we upload our videos. Thanks for watching.